What's up, guys? Jay Martin here. So, the dumbest mistake I've made as a young entrepreneur. If you want to know more about my backstory, how I got started, I've got a video on that. I'll leave it somewhere in the description if you're curious to know about how that went. Basically, I was green from the get. I was profitable from the start, but I humbly believe it was sprinkled with a little bit of luck to it. A little bit of timing, a little bit of luck, and the willingness to go all in. But I want to start off by saying entrepreneurial efforts often fail, but good entrepreneurs don't fail because they stay at it. Even if your first try goes to the wayside, your 10th try might be the one that strikes gold. One idea is all you need to achieve the success that you want. And stating this on the record, I don't believe in hierarchical relationships, I only believe in pure ones. So I'm speaking as a peer. I don't think I'm above anybody, and I don't think I'm below anybody. I think this may be valuable to people who are ahead of me financial wise, just as much for people who haven't figured out what they want to do yet. Alright, so firstly, just to lay some context, I started out in the e commerce space, quite typical for teens nowadays, but I built an online store on Shopify. And no, I'm not like one of those cringy teens that flex their rented out Lamborghinis. I'm not entirely sure if those guys are actually successful, by the way. We would have to wait and see 10 years where they'll end up. But, anyways, I'm not trying to roast them. I just don't like the idea of creating a false perception, because to those who actually knows what it's like, it's the grind, it's the dirt, it's not champagne bottles and freaking models, right? It's not actually that sexy. In fact, that's the thing about entrepreneurship. Most people are actually better off working for a company. It's fun to work for somebody because then you get to blame the boss, right? Entrepreneurs, we eat last, and if you're okay with that, then welcome aboard. In my case, I never bought anything fancy for myself, haven't upgraded my life until now, but it allows me to leverage all the money saved up into trying new things, new ways of making money, investing, and learning new skills. I am a college dropout, but I've only got one life here. I'm not going to be ignorant to the fact that there's so much more I can learn. But what has happened that I wasn't prepared for was the best problem I could ever have, which in hindsight ended up being a double edged sword. And that was having too much orders come in. If anyone's curious, my first business was in the men's fashion and jewelry niche that I created, I guess you could say, to a decently sized brand. It started as me wearing all the hats. I was the digital marketer, I was the content creator, I even packed all the orders myself until, of course, in a relatively short amount of time, I would consider, because it was in a matter of 2 months, I got to the point where I was receiving hundreds of orders a week, so I had to hire out employees for my own. But the thing in my mind was get rich. So here we are, a small operation going on in my house, and things like supplier issues, customer support, and other things were starting to ramp up. My VAs, which stands for virtual assistants, people who are in charge to handle all the customer messages and emails, yeah, even they were kind of having a hard time and were taking longer than usual to respond to all the emails and inquiries because things were really piling up a ton. And we were having issues with inventory from our suppliers, which in turn lost the primary aspect of what a business is supposed to do: provide value and serve a remarkable customer experience. Meaning, if I could entice a potential customer from clicking a Facebook or Instagram advertisement all the way to processing their payment, turning them into a customer, and then having them wait for their order to arrive, all with a happy face, then I've done my job. But somewhere along the process of scaling my business when things were growing at an exponential pace, I'm afraid providing a good customer experience wasn't the top of the priority list anymore. I created a cash cow, and I was doing everything I could possibly do to milk out that cash cow. Because before I got into business, I said I was going to be rich or I was going to die trying. And what I thought was increasing the numbers in my bank account, which, quite in a literal sense, figuratively it was, what I was blinded by was in reality, I was slowly losing all the profits we've made by consistently handing back refunds and repayments for customers not being satisfied anymore with the quality of service we gave them. And so all the temporary gains we've made resulted in me paying back and giving free products away to make up for all the unsatisfactory service we provided them. And in that moment, I realized what had been missing. I was realizing why what Tony Robbins says about success without fulfillment being the worst kind of failure. It was because what I cared about was the hellbent drive to be rich quick. And along the way, had become so myopically focused on this promise I made to myself as a kid that I never stopped to ask, why do I want to get rich? What is it that I plan to do with the money? Money itself is great. Yes, it has potential. But the question is, what are you going to do with that potential? So here's my invitation to you. And I'm still working on this myself. Life is too short. This is your one go around. So what are we going to do? We're going to do something predicated on value. And I think I've mentioned this so many times in my other videos, but how you make your money is so much more important than how much you make. So from now on, let's build a business predicated on value. Let's build a business based on our passion. And let's ask ourselves a fundamentally different question. What can we do and love every day, even if we're failing? And it leads to also helping the community around us. By quit focusing on ourselves, but focusing on something you want to serve greater than yourself, your friends, your family, their life, your mission, your life. I mean, the nature of the human mind is to constantly compare things. You can get out of that in an instant if you focus something greater than yourself. My goal is to have you consider something. We don't know how short life is gonna be, but if you only had a week to live, you wouldn't allow yourself to suffer over little crap that makes you crazy normally. I think you would probably spend time with those you love and do what you love and do best. So my thing is, why wait? So that's my soliloquy. You wouldn't recognize me when I was asking myself, what do I need to do to capitalize on making the most money? I was full of frustration, I was aggressive, and then once I started focusing on value though, it was more fun for me. I started having fun because that's a cool feeling, right? What can I do to make this person happy? Giving and doing things in business without expecting of any return. Now that's something you don't see quite frequently in business. Like you need the profits to come. Don't get me wrong, it's a business. And for a company to succeed, even if it's a lean 1 to 3 person operation, it doesn't matter what type of a business it is, you've got to be financially viable in no uncertain terms. You need the business to be profitable, and you certainly need to make the decisions to make sure that happens. But for us in business, you can't pursue profits. You can't pursue them. They must ensue from all the other things you do. Profits must ensue from bringing value. Profits must ensue building a community and helping them get what they want and focusing on creating an ecosystem, the most beautiful thing that can't be ignored. From that, profits will ensue. But here's a wise thing someone who is sort of like a mentor said to me. If you're young, and I'm assuming we're all pretty young here still, being a millionaire shouldn't be your number one goal. Work on the circuitry part, and then the money will come. Reps and sets, but in wealth building, it'll take time and days. And to all that, I say, greatness is coming. Peace and love.